on me music, baby.
Yummy music.
In the back of a 77 Lactaville, I was conceived on leather seats with smooth beats that still resonate through my soul. I never hesitate to flow cold, illuminate through your peepholes and detonate on black foes. These neonates been born, but still sworn to their childish ways. Slaves without chains cause their minds is haze. Spirits ablaze, soldiers who don't know who to fight. So-called leaders with cliches told you to love everything that's white. So when we get on, we leave goddesses for white girls. God, this is not the right world. God, this is some shit. We need to stop pretending this, cause ain't shit about them motherfuckers that's supremacists. Behind closed doors, fear genders I suppose. Bio warfare composed, and we rather believe conspiracy when it's exposed. We'd rather complain that we not treated the same, but to wanna be like rapists, murderers, and thieves, that's just insane. You gon' learn today. Every time I step to the mic and push play, I make your mind go crazy. Give you some shit that's real. My legendary status been sealed. On me music, giving you some shit you can feel. You gon' learn today. Every time I step to the mic and push play, I make your mind go crazy. Give you some shit that's real. My legendary status been sealed. Ray Kane in the journal, giving you some shit you can feel.
What's up, y'all? Here with the What's the What show. Got started a little late this week. Just want to let y'all know. We're gonna start it off here. We're gonna talk about the Black church today, or just Christianity in general, not just the Black church. I'm gonna have my guests come on in just a second. We ain't got them in here yet, but as usual, I'm gonna start the show off with some Black products that you can purchase, share with the Black businesses, and we're gonna start off with the Noni products. Or Noni met these people at the Juneteenth parade this year here in Atlanta. They had a tent out there and they were selling their products. So some of the things that they have is, show you some of their products real quick. Lotions, body oil, body spray. What I bought from them was their shea butter. I bought some black soap from them. Works real good. I used it on my hands. Anybody that know me knows that I have eczema on my thumb, and so bought some of this shea butter black soap from them, and it works pretty good. So if you got some extra money, you need some body products, use this. Go out there and support. The next thing I wanted to show you guys is the African Pride shoes, especially in particular. They will be 20 days. You can pre-order for $99.99. Show them to my son. He was feeling them. He was thinking about getting them sometime soon. So yeah, this is something you guys can go out and support. Some shoes that we can wear, support Black business. Also, you got the RBG colors on there, and we're doing it big right there. So let me see if I can get my guest in. Today we're going to talk about the Black church, Christianity and its effect on the Black community.
Hello, can you hear me? Hey. Hello?
Hey, Charles, you in?
I'm here.
All right. All right, guys, I want y'all to welcome Charles to the table. Charles, introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Charles. How's everybody?
Cool. All right, Charles, your phone kind of breaking up just a little bit, but
hold on.
Like I was saying though, we are talking about Black Christianity, talking about Christianity in the Black community and its effects on the Black community. Charles, tell them about you and what you do at your church.
Now, say that again.
I said, tell them about you and what you do at your church.
Oh, my name is Charles. I am one of the deacons at the church. I help with the praise and worship, and I just help, with the overall overseeing of the church.
Cool. So, my first question I'm going to ask is this. So many people will say that the church is, the church is one body. So if the church is one body, I've heard people say, I know I posted something one time on Facebook and I had a friend of mine say, well, it's what you mean by the black church. And so my question to you is that, do you feel that there's a difference? Do you feel that there's a black church or a white church, or is it just all one body that works in your mind?
Okay, this is how I personally feel.
That's what I want to hear.
I feel like God intended for it to be one church.
Okay.
But we have made it into more than just one church. We have separated. I tell people all the time, Sunday mornings are the most segregated places, most segregated time it is.
Wow. So we could get into a whole nother conversation about that. So I don't want to go that route, but I do understand where you're coming from. So now that we said that, go ahead.
Let me jump in. The reason I said that, because when you say one church, one body, what we got to understand is God is not concerned about the black church, the white church, but it is actually one church and one body. And he never, if you read your Bible from cover to cover, it's not saying I'm coming back for the black man or the white man, but I'm coming back for all that believe, right?
Got you. I got you. I'm right there with you. So, but from what you said, you are saying that because of our human nature, there is a black church and a white church, correct?
Yes.
Not because of God, but because of the human nature.
Right. We have, and you will hear people say, I'm going to the black church today because they got this much spirit, and then people talk about you've heard it said. I mean, let's be real. And then you hear people say, I visited this white church.
Okay. We're not going to stay on long because we started late today. Took a minute. I know you had some stuff you had to do, and I couldn't get our other regular people that's on to get on today. Everybody kind of busy, things going on. So we're not going to stay on long, but I want to say this. So now I got this question for you. So now that we have established because that we in our brain, we have a black church and a white church, or black church, white church, Chinese church, whatever. What do you feel is the role of, since there is a black church, what is the role of the black church in the black community?
What should be the role of the black church?
Basically, what should be, okay, if that's what you want to go, what do you feel, what do you feel the role should be? Yes.
Okay, of the black church, and can I just say of the church? Because really, what it should be, the church should be a place for a safe haven for people to come in that's been going through so much. They should be able to come to the church and be accepted no matter what. If you're drunk, and if you had a drink right before you come, you should be able to come in without being judged. But also the church needs to go outside of those four walls and reach those people that will never come to the church. They need to go to these little places that we say are unsafe, unding. If you truly believe in God, I go all the time to people that's homeless, that's hungry, and I try to talk to them about God. People talk about they're scared, but God says he didn't give us a spirit of fear.
Okay.
So
I got you.
The church should be an uplifting. The church should be that place where I found hope. So the church should be the ones that's most involved in everything that's going on in your community.
Cool. So the church definitely should be the most involved in the community. I was saying earlier, before you got on, I was saying that I remember, looking at Martin Luther King and thinking about the different things that he did. And of course, he used the Black church. You know, he used the church to enhance and promote the civil rights movement. And now we're going through a lot of stuff now, and the changing dynamic in our community is that most people, even people that consider themselves to be Christian, do not see the church as a place they can go and get help for what's going on in the community today. Would you agree with that?
Sure. There's a reason for that.
Okay.
Because if you look at some of our southern black churches, and I ain't gonna even say southern, but look at some of our black churches where you have, and it hurts me when you see a pastor that's 70 years old and he's still standing up behind a pulpit, could barely get up. He can't relate to what's going on in the younger generation. And we let, just like at General Motors, when you get a certain age, they retire you. They thank you for your service. And I know that people get upset when I say this, but sometimes your pastor has got to be retired so that you can have a younger mind, a younger vision, because the Bible does say where there's a lack of vision, the people perish. And so if there's no vision, these people can't follow it. I mean, why would I go to a church where people are still amazing? For instance, let's say this. I go to church and I'm upset about what's going on in the world today, and the pastor is still singing, "We shall overcome."
Okay, I got you. I got you. So basically, you're saying that because sometimes the pastor is out of touch with what's going on.
Right, right.
Okay.
And how many times have you ever seen it though? I mean, seriously, we look at TV, we see all this, where we have these old pastors, and I'm not knocking them because they done a service for God and they should be rewarded. They should be considered your senior pastor. But sometimes you need a younger mind to reach these young folks, because they ain't wanting to hear turn the other cheek. You got to reach them in a different way.
Okay, I got you. So how would you go about reaching the young folks if you were a pastor?
If I was a pastor and I see what's going on where it seems like they're just taking our lives for no reason, right? And It seems like there's discrimination and everything. And I mean, when I say discrimination, I'm talking about on both sides. Because when you kill an innocent cop, that's discriminating.
Okay.
Because you're discriminating against policemen.
Okay.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, if you going out and you singling a police officer that didn't do anything to anybody, then yeah, if you're just going out and shooting cops, then yeah, you are discriminating. I agree with that.
But my thing would be a hands-on approach. People respect you when you're in the trenches with them. When you're standing there beside them, you can then say, when it starts getting out of hand, brothers, we need to hold hands, we need to pray. Brothers, we need to think about our actions. You need to get out there and say, look, we can do this, but we got to do it in a more intelligent way. They want you to start shooting. They want you to start burning. They want you to loot so they can put that on the news, but let's give them something else to put on the news. We got to do it in a different way. And this is what kills me. If you ever notice something, and I see it on the news all the time, they'll go find the raggedest looking black person with the nappiest hair, one tooth, and can't speak English, and ask them, what do you think going on? And that person be like, well, they I seen it, and they can't even form a sentence.
Yeah, they do that. I always say they do that on purpose, because they want us to look a certain way. I believe that's again, the sensationalism of the media, the propaganda of the media machine. They, anything that you see on TV, the old saying is, what is the old saying? Believe half of what you hear, half of what you see and none of what you hear.
Right.
So just that propaganda machine is that's crazy. So going back to the black church then. So I would say this. So, okay, we got all this stuff going on in the community. We got the police shootings. We got, of course, the gang, you got, of course, gun violence in our community. I'm not going to call it black on black crime because there's no such thing as that, because there's white on white crime. Crime is crime. And so we need to just get off letting them tell that narrative of black on black crime. There is gun violence in our community against each other, of course. But with that said, what do you feel the church should be doing about the gun violence in our community?
Number one, these churches have more money than what they let off. Some of these churches are making a lot of money, and they could do a buyback program where they could start buying some of the guns from our own community. They could start saying, okay, I don't need the government to say, okay, on this day we're going to buy the guns back. But they could say every Sunday, if you bring your gun in, no questions asked, we're going to buy that gun back. And then what happens, you're taking less guns off the street. But we need to, why are we buying these guns back? And you get a chance to buy the gun back. If I say, Randy, I'm going to give you $100 for your gun. And you say, okay, as I'm giving you that $100, I got your attention, right? So then I could give you just, and that's what people don't understand. You can give them a quick word. Hey, God loves you. He loves you so much that your life matters, that he gave his only begotten son just so that you can live. That's how much God loves you. And you put a value on that person's life, they may not even pay you any attention right then, but somewhere in the back of their mind, it's going to come back up again, and they're going to think about it. They may be intrigued to come back to hear what you say.
Got you. Okay, I get you. Okay, I get you. Now, I've always said that that we should, the black church definitely should be if we're going to use that, if we're going to use Christianity as the model to follow, and most black people do. You got, like I said earlier, you do have some black people that's Muslim, but for the most part in America, black people either grow up Christian or Muslim, and there's definitely more Christian households, more households that say they're Christian than Muslim. And so I always wondered why a lot of these black churches that have the money, or a lot of churches that have a lot of money, like you said, even some of the predominantly white churches, the larger churches, they have a lot of money, but I never really see these churches do something like maybe start a savings and loan or something where, you're already giving your money to the church, but what if you had something where they could go in and they put their money into that, and then the church kind of control, almost like a bank, where the church kind of control it, and they could come back, get that money out if they need it, or that money can be given to somebody else in the church that needs the money so that they can go out and maybe build their own houses. Basically, really like build a real community within that church that can really do something with the money besides, I don't know, build these large edifices that's just really holding up space. Because like you said, they do need to get out of the four walls of the church and go out into the neighborhoods and talk to these kids and to the older people and stuff like that. So what do you think about that?
That's a good idea, but then you got to be careful, because then you get into, because see, the church is set up as a nonprofit.
Okay.
When you start showing that you're making a profit, then you lose your nonprofit status. Then you start having to pay the tax on this and tax on that. And if you fall behind, then guess what? They can come and take your church from you. So you have to be careful on certain things.
I got you. So would you really be would you become a, I'm asking you this now, would you become a would that really mess up the nonprofit status if you're not using the money as you're still using the money in a way where, okay, or you could do something, if that's the case, then you could do something like TD Jakes does, whereas he has his church, which is a nonprofit, but he also has TD Jakes Ministries, which from my understanding is set up as a for-profit company. Could you do something like that?
You can, but you know that TD Jakes also does it like this. He has his church called the Potter's House. And
yes.
Then he has the TD Jakes nonprofit. He makes sure that there's no connection between the two. And see,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. He got the TD Jakes Ministries, which I
Right.
believe is a for-profit, and then he got the church, which is the non-profit, and they kind of
Right.
separated. They definitely separate
Right.
from each other.
Because if they find out that this is being funded, because and when you say, even though you're saying, okay, we're not really trying to make a profit, but if you're putting the money in a savings and loan, it's going to draw interest. So therefore, interest is a profit. That's the way they're going to look at it.
Got you. So I got you. I understand that. I can totally understand that part of it.
This is the biggest
Go
thing
ahead.
to me.
Mhm.
I think what should happen is maybe while the weather is pretty, why don't black churches, white churches, or whatever we consider them to be, start having services outside in lawns, go to parks and start having services where homeless people hang out. Start having services and see how many people you could actually reach.
So you want to go back to the old school big tent services?
Why not?
I
It
got
worked.
you. I got you. I got you. Now you know me and you. We talk on a regular basis. So you
Right.
know you know where I stand, because I've always said that I don't necessarily call myself Christian because of the way I feel about Christianity and its effects on taking us into slavery. So it's hard for me to call myself a Christian. I do believe in many of the Christian tenets as far as the things in the Bible. But I also I can't necessarily call myself a Christian. And then I know for a fact that I don't go to church every week. I go from time to time, and things like that. But because I definitely want to have a disclosure, let everybody know where I stand with it, so they don't feel like I'm just up here talking about the church and don't know what I'm talking about. But I have been the person that have gone to church every week. I've served in churches. I've done all those things. So I do understand the ins and outs of what goes on in different churches. So I've gone to a number of different churches over the years. I've gone to Catholic churches that were predominantly black Catholic churches. I've gone to Methodist. I've gone to United Methodist, AME. I've gone to Kojic. And I was going to say this, is that you have all these different sects of churches. You got, like I said, you got the Kojic, which pretty much started out of the Baptists. It was because the black people couldn't go to the Baptist church, so they started their own church and called it Kojic. Then you got Southern Baptists. You got another type of Baptist. Then you got the Seventh-day Adventists. You got, what else you got, man? You could probably name more than I can, but
Yeah, you got
so many.
First Church of God. You got all kinds.
You got all
You know why
types.
you got all
So
kinds?
why is that?
Because it's a very simple rule. Let's say me and you going to church together.
Mm-hmm.
And let's say I get mad at you.
Mm-hmm.
I leave the church and I open up another church and I start me another church. That's all it is. People that get mad at each other run and start different churches, different religions, because they get upset with different people. That's
Well,
simply,
I mean, I've left churches. I've left churches upset at churches. But I didn't go off and start a whole nother church, because I've always been one that just didn't feel like it was necessary to start a whole nother church. I feel like we need to fix the one anybody start any new ones. That's just me, though. I just feel like, yeah.
But if we read the Bible, God said there's only one church, and He's only coming back for one church. He ain't coming back for Baptist, Methodist. He don't care about all of that. God is not a God of denomination. The only thing that He says, let this mind be in you that's also in Christ Jesus. If you believe in Jesus and you believe that He hung, died, and bled and rose on the third day, then guess what? If you accepted Him, that's all. You don't have to worry about, am I Baptist, am I Methodist, am I Catholic? That's just a name. It's just, and people love titles. But you know that. I'm Mr. So-and-so,
Gotcha.
I'm supervisor. I'm the doctor. I'm the elder. We have titles to make us feel important.
So with that said, what do you say to the young black brother that's on the street that come up to you and we're gonna go with your we're gonna go with what you said earlier about having a program where you bring the guns in and they pay $100 for the gun. Okay. Mm-hmm. So now you got this young cat's ear, and the young cat sitting there and you tell him, hey, Jesus loved me. And he says to you, hey, look, I don't want to hear the Jesus stuff. I get what y'all doing, but Jesus ain't done nothing to help us out. Jesus ain't done our streets still messed up. What Jesus gonna do to fix our streets? I don't want to hear about the by and by. I want to know what's gonna happen now. What do you say to that person?
That's easy. Look, brother, I was in the same spot you was a few years ago. Actually, I can tell you, it's some days when I don't want to hear about Jesus. This racism, and you tell them people, you tell the young brothers, the young sisters, look here, God never promised us every day is going to be easy. Only thing he said is, I'll never leave you nor forsake you. And we got to let them know that you got to stay encouraged and don't give up. See, these brothers have given up on the church. You know why they gave up on the church? I'm glad you said I could answer that question. I tell you why they gave up.
You can answer. Hey, go ahead, preach. You preaching better than they saying amen.
The reason they gave up on the church, because the church gave up on the young brothers. What do I mean by they church gave up on the young brothers? When I was growing up, I lived in a neighborhood, and my church was right up the road. But if I walked by the church on Sunday, somebody would say, hey, you need to come in here. If my community seen me acting up or doing wrong, they would snatch me up and say something. Now the community is scared. They're afraid. They talk about the young brothers with their pants hanging down. They talk about all the stuff that the young brothers doing. But how many have actually got out the car and said, young brother, hey, you might want to pull your pants up. You proceed a different way. I told a lady the other day, because she had a butt hanging out and she had a breast showing. I said, baby, you're more than breast and thighs. I said, and if that's all a man think about you, then he might want to go to KFC. And she looked at me like I was crazy. I said, you're more than that. I said, you need to cover up and get some pride about yourself. We got to quit being afraid to approach our young brothers and sisters. They just want to be, but if you do it in love, they'll receive it. But you can't go out there like, hey, you need to pull your pants up. Cover up, that's nasty. You got to do it in a way to where they can receive it. If you follow me.
Got you.
Your approach is what's killing us. And I mean, we sitting in the church talking about them. And I ain't never read a scripture where it says we're supposed to sit in the church and talk about them. But the Bible tells us to get out and go and make fishermen of all men. So even those that with their pants hanging out, even the young girl that's twerking, guess what? We still need to be trying to make a fisherman out of them.
Okay.
That might have been too deep, so I'm going to leave that alone.
No, that wasn't too deep, man. I got what you're saying. I'm like I told you, just because I don't go to church don't mean I ain't read the Bible all the way through a number of times. But
now you're talking to me. You're talking to me, and I know that you very well schooled on the Bible. I know that you've been to seminary school. So you're telling me. Right. So let's be real.
I get everything you're saying, man. I get everything you're saying. And so I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna let you say this one last question, and I'm going to end us off and say my last little piece. So, we talked about Christianity. We talked about how it should be one church, but since we know that it's not, and we do have these separate churches, we got a lot of separatism going on. We do have black churches and white churches. And so since we have churches or black churches and white churches, and obviously there's this feeling that they're not doing what they need to be doing in the community overall. What do we do, first off, to our churches do to continue or get, you already answered that question, so I'm not going to ask that again, but where do we go from here? How do we bridge that gap between now that we've come up with ideas to bridge the gap between the community? How do we bridge that gap between the black church and the white church and bring it back into a whole body of Christianity?
Quit being afraid to talk about the elephant that's in the room. And what I mean by
that elephant is?
And what I mean by that is, we know that God is not pleased with this separation. We know that God intended for us all to come together. So what we got to do is when we have these programs, when we start having we got to start inviting different people of different race, and not just white, but Hispanic and everybody. Start coming into our church, but then we need to have something set up that will And what I mean by that, have programs and different things set up so that so if my Hispanic brother come, or my white brother come, or my Jewish brother come, or my Chinese brother come, I got something set up that's going to pique their interest so they'll want to come back. I can't just have it set up for, hey, this is mainly for the black people. Because, you know, if you go into a black church, they singing hymns, these old Negro hymns, and they singing and they doing stuff. They still wearing robes and they doing stuff that, you know, they doing a lot of stuff.
That depends on the church you go to. That depends on the church you go to. That depends on the church you go to, because you got a lot of non-denominational churches that's a little bit more progressive than that.
Right, but I'm just saying basic Baptist church.
Okay.
But I mean, now I've been to different churches where they're trying to get away from it, and I like the fact of like a T.D. Jakes and Potter's House where you have a mixed congregation. Only thing I would say to T.D. Jakes and his group, or what I would say to Joel Osteen and his group, or what I would say to any other group. Okay, you got them people there, and you got them there. Now, what are you going to teach them about a relationship? You know what I mean?
You talking about a relationship with God?
A relationship with each other.
Ah, okay.
Because, number one, I've been to some mega churches, and you still see, even though everybody's worshiping together, you still see a separation.
Now that's that we can go into a whole nother conversation about that one. Yeah. Well, hey man, look, I'm not gonna keep you tonight. I know we all gotta get up in the morning and do our thing. I appreciate you for coming on and sharing your insights and talking to us about what you feel that we need to do to bring the church together. Like I said, I'm going to say this because you made a point about that God is not pleased with the separation. And this is my thing. There's black and white, and I always tell people when they be like, well, I don't see color, I say to them, well, let me explain something to you. I want you to see my color. I want you to understand who I am, because that is part of my culture. That is part of who I am. God made me black for a reason, just like he made you white for a reason. Whatever it is you come from, for white, Hispanic, Chinese, you're that person, and your culture is important to you, and you should be able to what's the word I'm trying to your culture should be respected. You should be able to love your own culture regardless to whatever color, whatever that is. Now the next thing is we all come from Africa. Every last person, which is a scientific thing where they say some Europeans are come from, which started in Europe. But as far as I know, everything I've studied lets me know that we all, for the most part, come from Africa. And with that said, then we all are one anyway. I just feel like the church overall needs to bridge the gap with needs to end the racism, and we need to end the religious fighting against each other. We fighting over religions within the Christianity church. You're fighting over different sects of Christianity. Then you get outside of the Christianity church and you have religions, and you're fighting over different religions. All that needs to stop so that we can come together. We need to stop fighting over color. We need to stop fighting over religion. We need to all come together one another. If we can't come together, we need to figure out a way to live peacefully and be able to still some kind of way work together. People get divorced all the time and live in separate homes, but they still raise their kids together. So I just feel like as humans, even if we did live in separate neighborhoods, even if we live in separate neighborhoods and do those type of things, we still should be able to do business together without feeling like I can't trust that person because of their color. And I just feel like that's what I feel like Christianity should be working on. It should be a work on bridging that gap between the different sects of their churches, bridging that gap between the different colors or the different racial lines in the churches. And then when they can bridge that gap, then possibly they can bridge that gap in between other religions. And really, we can have a better world. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what's the what. Hey, Charles, tell them.
Say that again. Say that
I
again.
said, tell the people goodbye. Tell the people goodbye.
Good night.
All right, Charles. Thank you again for coming on, man. We're gonna have you again, man, when we got some more people. We can have some back and forth dialogue with a bunch of different people. You know what I'm saying?
Anytime, man. Just let me know.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Holla back.
All right.